Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Steve Soloff. I'm representing the project InformTheVoteNJ, and today I'm partnering with the Arts District and some businesses of Millville to bring you a candidates forum for the Millville City Commissioner's race. The purpose of today's candidate forum is simple but important: to give voters a clear, direct opportunity to hear from the people running in this year's election, with some pointed questions that hopefully go a bit beyond what you've already heard this late in the election season. With so many candidates on the ballot, it can be difficult for voters to find straightforward, centralized information. Our goal with InformTheVoteNJ has always been to help raise the status quo of election coverage in Cumberland County through organized processes, so that every voter feels better equipped to make their own informed decision without voting turning into a full-time job. Here's how this forum will work. We have approximately 4 candidates today. For those wondering why Dave Summers and Rob McQuade couldn't make it, they wanted me to let you know they're working on their website. And as for the timing and venue choice, I was trying to get better times, but it simply didn't work out. We'll start with some introductions from the candidates, and then after that, we'll move into about 10 questions. We'll give maybe 2 or 3 minutes for each answer, and we'll adjust if necessary. These questions were not presented to the candidates ahead of time. About halfway through, we'll pause for a brief break before resuming with the remaining questions. This was all calculated based on our scheduled time, which runs from about 10:30 to 1:30 p.m. So we'll ask the audience to keep the chatter to a minimum. And one of the main purposes of today's forum is to record and share these responses online. That way, the general public can view them at their own convenience, whether they're here in person or watching later. And finally, a quick note: Mayor Romanik has requested to go first, as he has some other obligations today. So with that, Mayor Romanik, would you like to do an introduction? And then we'll move on.
Thank you, Steve. And yes, I do have some upcoming obligations at 11 and noon today. 11 for Suicide Veterans Awareness Car Show, and then at noon, a groundbreaking ceremony for a brand new company coming to the city of Millville. So I am Mayor Benjamin Romanik. I am here today to answer the questions presented before me, and also for re-election for the 2025 re-election year.
Cool. Sooy, would you like to go next?
Red light is on, right?
Yeah, you're good.
So I'm Commissioner Sooy. Background real quick, lived here my whole life, except when I was in the military, member of the Moose, the Legion, bachelor's degree from Rowan and then Glassboro State College in mathematics, degree from Cumberland County College, but I want to talk about something that's a little bit more important than that right now. So we have a lot of people running for these seats, and they have ideas. They have some great ideas, and they have some crazy ideas. But and they all want to make our city better. But to make these ideas a reality, you need something. You need proper planning. You need a good review of whatever that idea is, and you need appropriate budget. Now, I think what differentiates me from many of the other candidates is I have that experience. So I have the experience of getting infrastructure done, of getting businesses here, particularly big ones in the Hurley Industrial Park. And it takes teamwork, it takes persistence, a lot of hard work, and a lot of time. And I think that I had that experience to make this city better for you guys. Thank you.
Good. And I'm not sure hitting that button is what you want to do.
Just turn it off.
Yeah.
It was green for me.
It was
Yeah.
red for me. It was supposed to be red.
You didn't say anything.
It tells to press any button.
Yeah, It's green now.
Yeah, just leave it there.
Hi, I'm Tom McGinty. I've been in the city for 64 years of my 66. I'm not a politician. At least I don't like to think so. I'm a realist. I'm a scientist. I have a degree in geology from Lehigh University and Moravian College. Why I'm running is I think I have expertise and experience to bring economic development to Millville, to some places that need a little bit different work that will need to happen to make that happen. I've mentioned brownfields before, and I'm one of the people at the DEP that was on the ground floor when we started even thinking about brownfields programs. I was the only individual who went around and assessed places, set up deed restrictions and so forth. And we have some places that are ripe for the picking for that. We also have some places that are underutilized and have already been taken care of as far as cleanup is concerned. I believe there's much needed expansion and diversity of use of our airport. There's a lot of land out there, and I'd like to see something a little different, and that's why I ran.
Cool. Thank you. And Mr. Derella?
My name is Joe Derella. I've been born and raised here in the city of Millville, 69 years old. Went to Millville High School, graduated in 1974, then went on to Westchester University, graduated there in 1978 with a health and physical education degree, K through 12 and athletic training. Fortunate to come back to the city of Millville, was able to teach and coach at Millville High School for 10 years. Left in 1988 to take an opportunity to pursue a career in healthcare. I spent 32 years with NovaCare outpatient and physical therapy and managed 16 facilities throughout South Jersey. Left there after 32 years and went to work for Spear for the final 5 years. My last 2 years I was very heavily involved with 911, emergency services, medical transport, occupational health, as well as the outpatient urgent cares. So I was responsible for over 500 people at that time. Retired in January of 2024. I've had 28 years experience in public service. I spent 4 years on the school board, 1 year as the president, 15 years as city commissioner, 8 of those were vice mayor and revenue finance. Spent 9 years as a director of the Cumberland County Board of now commissioners, previously the freeholders. There as well, I was responsible for the administration, which was the budget, as well as public safety. I was part of, over those years, a member of South Jersey Freeholder, now Commissioner Association, which was all the counties in the southern part of the state. I was president of that for 1 year. I was also vice president of NJAC, which is New Jersey Association of Counties. So I was able to develop a lot of contacts throughout the state of New Jersey, up and down in those roles. I've been married to my wife for 38 years. We have 2 children. My son Jacob, who is an account manager for South Jersey Industries. He has a house over in Hopewell. And my daughter Casey is a graduate of Ursinus College, also got her PhD from Augusta University, and she now resides in Charlottesville, Virginia, where she manages and supervises a section of the research lab at the University of Virginia. Again, my purpose for running is I think I have some stuff to give back. Got some experience, been involved with teams that worked well together in every level of government, from school boards to the county. Had some experience working at the level of the state, trying to bring people together to get good results. You just look around the city of Millville, there's a lot of projects that I was fortunate to be part of in those teams, starting with the Culver Center, the Leavoy Theater, Buck Park, New Jersey Motorsports, Union Lake Crossing, and the list goes on and on. At the county, the tech school, the connection with Rowan University and the medicine school, again, the pavilion at the cemetery, at the Veterans Cemetery there, which was sorely needed. And the list goes on and on and on. But again, I want to be able to get back onto the commission and hopefully be able to bring some experience and spread that to the rest of that team. I'm running with Carmen Del Vicario and Roy Shepard, both work on Saturdays, so unfortunately they could not be here. But again, we think we have a good team, and all our goal is to make where we live just a little bit better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Derella, and thanks for everybody else introducing yourselves. Our first question will come from Mary Ann Cannon from the Arts District.
What do I do?
Just hold it up.
Okay. My name is Marian Cannon. I came here in 2002 as a pioneer artist. There was an art district. The city had incentives to get us here because artists can clean up, fix old buildings, and I started at 508. I was in that building for 19 years. It's now DC Gallery. I downsized to the Village, which is also my property. And my tenants, I'm representing all of my tenants because I've talked to them all. And I notice what the city has lost or given up or gone away. I don't think you need a plan. I served a lot of years on the MDC board. And if you drive in any town or small town, the first thing people notice if you've never been there, oh, this place is clean. And there's banners like Hamilton used to have grapes for the wine, different things, they have them. We had art district banners. They did not cost the taxpayers a dime because MDC purchased them. They were good for 3 years. The city put them up, but they put them up when they took the snowflakes down. And they took the banners down and put the snowflakes up. It was a one-day thing. I sorely miss those banners. And the last time we purchased them, they didn't go up because there was a malfunction with whatever they told us, the truck. But I do notice that the snowflakes still go up. I notice the American flags still go up, and every pole that had an American flag or a snowflake used to have an art district logo banner. I would like to see them come back. I know there's other things, but that's kind of a biggie for me. I did relocate here. We all knew the street cleaners. Now, yesterday I saw 2 guys with gloves on and they cleaned the street, and I didn't get a chance to thank them. I waved and smiled, and I also noticed we had 2 police last night. It was third Friday. They were very gracious. They walked in through the Village and up and down, and I asked them, I said, thank you, I'm very happy to see you. Are you here because it's close to election? And both cops laughed. And I said, well, and they said, well, there's something going on High Street tonight. I said, yeah, third Friday. We have it every month, and we've had it with no cops or no visible cops for us. Sometimes the cops are the Renaissance Center to Rowan and back. And to me, the post office on Rowan is the middle of the art district, and the rest of us are like the stepchild or whatever. So we would like to see, we used to have flower baskets and the Easter seals. The city had a water cart. The Easter seals lost a job. Those guys and women had one caregiver, went up and down the street. I was sorry to see them go. They were sorry to lose that job when we lost the flower baskets. But visually, High Street looked a lot better when it had banners, flowers, and the sidewalks cleaned. And if anybody wants to say Millville's clean, it might be now because last night was third Friday, but I walk a dog on High Street almost every day or some part, and I can tell you how dirty High Street can be. And I'm not going to get graphic, but a lot of times it's just plain disgusting. And if you drive a car to City Hall, the parking lot, or wherever you want to go, get out of your car, go into business and come out, you're probably not seeing when someone's walking what they see. So I feel like clean up the art district, clean up from Main to Broad, at least High Street. And the art district is beyond that, but there's no incentive to keep artists here. I know how many pioneer artists we have. I know how many of us have died, and a number of us have retired, and sometimes retire means get out of Millville. But there's some of us still here. And I know the village is here almost 20 years. Octopus Garden last night celebrated 15 years in the village. That was their anniversary. I've done my venting. Anybody wants to?
Ask the question.
Oh. Why can't we have banners back? Why can't we have police on Third Friday? I know you don't want them there all the time, but Third Friday, it's a lot easier to invite people there if we have police. And I totally have given up on the idea of flowers, but the banners are important to at least show there's no visual. If a stranger drives into Millville down High Street, it looks like any other city. You don't have any indication of what's there.
So I think to sum up the question is, how will you help revitalize the Arts District? And because Romanik has to go, I'll let him go first.
I want this one.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, High Street is an importance to Millville. It is downtown Millville. It is the Arts District. It has always been the Arts District for my entire life. Policing. This year we passed over $250,000 in budget of UEZ money to allocate extra police officers working for the UEZ district, which downtown High Street is the part of the UEZ district. That's allowing for additional patrol officers to be in the area. The entire police of just not even New Jersey, South Jersey, but in the world, there is a deficiency in police officers. Just this week, I had a police officer give his transfer papers in, and he's moving from New Jersey to Florida because he doesn't like the cold. We're down another officer. It is utmost importance to have public safety, and especially I know for the third Fridays, the events, and it was also Mystery on High yesterday as well, and with the Millville Historical Society being open and giving a nice presentation, there is always, in the calendar of events is made now for the next coming year. So there shouldn't be an excuse for why City Hall doesn't know there's an event, or that the officers don't know that there's an event going on. But to have officers dedicated to the event is what's needed. We can't just take guys off patrol to then go walk on High Street to have a presence. Obviously, when there's a presence there, it's much needed, but to feel safe during the event, just like in any municipality. The banners, I do remember them. I totally forgot, like you said. And when you mentioned about the bucket truck, yes, it broke. Yes, we borrowed from Vineland. There was internal issues with that being operated with quality. High Street is of an importance because it is the downtown to any community, and we're fortunate enough to have it. But to bring in all types of businesses to accompany the Arts District, Clay College being brought up and being there and needs to be used, vitalized more. But we're working with, Rowan College of South Jersey. You'll see in the next year or so, the sidewalks are going to be redone. High Street is going to repave. We just had a big presentation 2 weeks ago about the brand new, what downtown is going to change and look like, all the way from 49 to Harrison. It's going to get changed. The sidewalks are going to get changed. The road is going to get paved. So there's brand new infrastructure being set up for downtown in the next couple of years to once again help the businesses on the side.
Does that mean your calendar for the coming year, you have 12 Third Fridays for the police to show up on 12 Third Fridays, or is Third Fridays not an event to you?
So Third Fridays is run through so years ago it was through the city of Millville. Third Fridays is now run through the RRCA.
Okay. All right. So the RRCA needs to request police?
Let's try and keep the back and forth to a minimum. We'll switch up the order. Mr. Derella, would you like to go next? And also, I have a clock on the other side of the room, so I'm going to be watching a little bit more closely.
Great questions. I was part of the commission, that team that developed the Arts District, as well as making sure we gave support to any and all of the merchants on High Street, not just the artists, but the artists were pivotal in changing the attitude and the atmosphere on High Street. Yes, thanks to George Mitchell and his kind heart, rest his wonderful soul, he made sure that we had those baskets hanging, and we also worked out the thing with the Easter seals. There are other nonprofit groups out there that I'm sure would want to come back and help support that. Question is financial stability and how we pull that together. Same thing occurs with policing. We have to make sure that our downtown, which is a reflection, believe it or not, of the entire city, has to seem and be safe and secure. We need to relight things from Buck Street all the way to 6th Street, in my opinion, and the Team Millville's opinion. We need to find a better way to allocate our resources, whether it is police officers that are on duty, or whether we offer some small overtime, whether we go to special class officers, whether we're able to do what this current commission has done and try to work with the Sheriff's Department to make sure that there's a presence every time there's an important event on High Street. And I consider Third Friday to be an increasing important, because that opens up our city once a month to people coming into town. So again, being part of that, being able to work our way through that, I think that myself and Team Millville can bring that all back. It will take time. As far as the RRCA, yes, they've taken on that responsibility to try to chair and move Third Fridays. But there needs to be, in my opinion, as well as my two teammates, coordination between the city, between the chamber, and the RRCA to try to make sure that any requests for law enforcement, for support, is documented, and we find a way to work together and bring that to the downtown. You'll get criticism from people in other neighborhoods where you're spending so much time cleaning downtown and doing this and doing that. It is important. We also, again, have to make sure we can duplicate some of those things. When I say duplicate, cleaning of the streets, enforcing our codes, making sure the trash cans are taken back, all those little things that need to be done that makes the entire city better. So again, to go back to your original question, yes, we have the opportunity to get back into office. We really want to focus hard on downtown, how to make it beautiful, bring back some of those ideas, listen to the groups that need to be, that are part of that, the downtown district. One of our plans is to make sure we knock on every merchant's door to find out what their concerns are and how can we help. And to hopefully maybe develop a little business group that can meet on a monthly basis with city administrators as well as a commissioner to see what's going on and what are the needs for the upcoming month. You may have a different kind of theme coming up for Third Friday. Well, how do we help promote that? So again, a lot of thoughts and a lot of ideas, but again, pulling some of the things that we learned in the past, pulling it forward and trying to work on that to improve it and really do a great thing for the downtown district.
Thank you. Mr. McGinty, would you like to go next?
Hi, on the Arts District. I agree. Millville is not as pretty as it used to be. I've talked to some of the merchants, and I've talked to Ms. Cannon, and some of the things she brought up, which are part of the questions, I wasn't involved in. I don't have a way to address why things didn't happen, but I think I can come up with an answer as to why they should happen and how we can make it happen again. Right now we have volunteers that have come and taken care of some of the buildings that were an eyesore on High Street. I heard one person say, you know what really bothers me is the clock doesn't work in front of City Hall. So I made calls to different people who fix clocks, and I found that there's one in Cinnaminson. By the time I turned around, I have a volunteer that's going to take the clock down, take it apart, powder coat it, fix it all up, and put it back at his cost. That's the kind of people we have in Millville. I think if we put our heads together and do some certain things, that people will come out of the woodwork to make High Street better. Our artists are certainly committed. They've been here for 20 years, and they've been doing the right thing. And sometimes they can use a little help, and unfortunately, they haven't got it. As far as the dirtiness and trash of High Street, there's no excuse. We have a street sweeper, when it runs, comes around and does it. But we don't do it as efficiently as we could. It's pointed out, yeah, the street sweeper sweeps the streets, but what about the sidewalks where people are walking? I've been in every corner of Millville, downtown, down in the park that's along the river. It's disgusting. And people are afraid to go down there, and that's a safety issue. And we need to address that. I spent 15 years in the prison. I retired as a lieutenant. I have a lot of experience as far as safety and security. I mean, that's what we did. And we have some, and I'm going to say street people. They're not homeless. They're not the people that are unhoused. And they're not the people that are on the verge of being unhoused. But we have street people out there that do not want help. They're here for one thing, and that is to survive off the grid. And we can't have that. Either you get help, you go somewhere, you get employment, and you can't be out panhandling and so forth. That drives a lot of people off a high street. And I think I have some solutions for that, and I will be tireless in trying to take care of issues with people who are just out there for nefarious activity. Thank you.
Mr. Sooy?
So one thing that really hurt the downtown business district was the loss of UEZ funding for a couple of years. We now have that funding back. I'll address public safety first. So we entered a shared services agreement with the sheriff's department for more patrols. That agreement limited us to time periods as well as how many officers, et cetera. So right now, I believe we have, I can't remember if it's $5.3 or $5.8 million in UEZ funding to be distributed over the next couple of years. The first thing we're doing, and we already have the plans to do this, is to enhance those hours and allow, right now, it's either Millville Police will be there or the sheriff's officers will be there. We want to make it so that both can be there at the same time to enhance that protection and to enhance the hours at which they work so that more public safety is available. Next, you talk about the banners. So we did have a problem with the bucket truck, and we had to borrow from Vine on the truck. Using UEZ money, we bought a new truck. It took about 2 years to get that truck. We got it, I believe, last month. So it's here now. It's up and running. So I will address that with my department with the banners when I get back. The other thing we did is we redid facade grants for High Street. So you can get a $20,000 grant. You don't have to pay it back. It's a grant. It can also be used for security enhancements. So if you want to put a camera system in, you could put a camera system in. When people see cameras, they're more apt to behave. You talked about cleanliness. Before the state now is our proposal for a green team. I'm pretty confident it will get approved. That includes 2 people, a truck, and whatever other equipment we need to work in the UEZ zone, to keep the UEZ zone clean. That's there for the sidewalks, for the streets, for painting the curbs, for whatever we need them to do that. Now, it took a while to get all this stuff going because, well, let's just say we brought UEZ in-house, and now we're able to do much more with it than we were when we had a consultant working for us. Let's see. So, also with the police, we need a director of public safety that's going to actually direct public safety. That's going to make sure that the chief and the commissioner are on the same page with moving homeless along, getting the bums out of the way. We'll help the ones we can help, and we can do that. I don't know if I'll talk about that later or not, using our opioid grant money to get treatment for some of the ones we don't, working with another organization, which I'll talk about that later when I can. So we have all that going on. We also have larger loans available in the UEZ zone for up to $1 million. We put $1 million in that now. We only have one loan with that out. Marketing. You have Mr. Horin sitting here. I had to pull teeth to get my commission, the commission I'm on, to approve a marketing contract the present commission, not with the old mayor. The old mayor was great at this. So, and we got that done, and we wasted 8 months. They didn't want to take it out of second generation funds. I don't know why. The amount out of there would have only been the interest on what's in the bank. But we're doing that. Kept putting Bill back to work with the marketing. He does a great job. He does a great job covering events. He goes above and beyond. With the merchants, he's worked for all these little videos that you see on the website, identifying different businesses and bigger ones before. So if you know how UEZ works, we can only use it in the zone. So if we want to keep doing it with the bigger businesses, we're going to have to allocate money out of our budget for that, which we did before. So I hope that answers some of your questions, tells you what we're doing to try to get High Street back on track. And I wish it didn't take as long as it did, because believe me, I would have rather had all this place in place before November. I would have liked to have this stuff in place last year. But that's what's coming, and that's what we're doing to fix it. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. And the next question is coming basically from me and some of the members of the public. With Millville's race drawing 19 candidates and the local press being largely absent, voters have been left to rely on scattered campaign posts on social media, chance encounters at non-political events, or on independent projects like my own, which get criticized as being unfair or lacking professional standards. So given how chaotic and fragmented the information environment has become, what will you do to ensure that voters have a transparent, centralized, and professional process for comprehensive election coverage in the future so they can make informed choices without having to depend on ad hoc efforts like mine? McGinty.
I agree. 19 candidates is a lot of people to chase around. And of course, Facebook is a horrible way to get the people's voice out there. No matter what I found out, no matter what you say, you're going to be in trouble. Somebody's going to have something smart to say. Somebody's going to criticize you. Somebody's going to talk about you personally. And it's ridiculous. What you're doing is phenomenal. We can't expect you to do this every year, okay? We have a county office in charge of, registering people to vote and voting and so forth and so on. I don't see why they can't put something together where somebody such as Mr. Horin or you would get together with candidates throughout the county, throughout government, and put together some type of professional venue where people who are running could get their, ideas and their plans out on social media or professional media. I'm new to this whole thing. I won't ever do it again. Not because I don't want to serve, because I want to be 4 years. I'm going to be 70. You probably won't want to see me hobbling around trying to get things done. But I'm going to give it hell for the next 4 years. And I think not only should our voting be more educated to the public, I think that everything we do within the city commission should be more out there to the public. And I hope that through our public relations person, if that's what your title will be or whatever, and with people helping you to do it, Mr. Horin, I hope that we can be more open with some of the things that are going on in the background that people don't know about. And maybe people coming out of the woodwork with professional expertise, with funding, with whatever we might be able to use, may come because they're aware of the problems that we have here in Millville. Thank you.
Mr. Derella?
Unfortunately, Steve, with your question, having government get involved with trying to get information out about candidates, I think the Hatch Act prevents that from occurring. Governmental entities cannot take part in election information other than here's where you go to vote, VBMs and all those kind of things. But it would be nice to see the city encourage chambers of commerce, some of the other nonprofit organizations that are out there that may be able to house and be able to entertain and make some of these things happen. I give Four Seasons kudos. I think they did a wonderful job in regards to how they monitored and how they ran their candidates night. They broke it in two. So they allowed 9 candidates to come in one night and 10 the next. Okay, you don't have the opportunity to hear everybody together, but at least there was an informed group there. And I know the night I was there was about 50 people, and they were very, very much interested in what was being said. So again, there are other opportunities. I just wish more organizations would step forward and maybe, help get and inform the public of what's going on. I mean, you go out, you knock on doors, which we've done, significantly over the last several weeks, but there needs to be a way to pull this all together. And again, could the city maybe coordinate, might be a touch and go on the Hatch Act, to try to get some of these organizations to do that? One of the thoughts that we have is to try to have a nonprofit council that would meet once a month so that they could all share their information on what they're doing so things don't overlap. They could work together, and maybe that is a forum where they could take on the lead to try to help inform the voters along with what's ever left of the news pool out there to try to bring and make people educated. I do believe people are very frustrated with politics. I think that they've just been beat on the head so much, and again, being in it 28 years, I see it more and more and more. So again, to answer your question, I think we need to pull some of the resources that are out there and available and try to push some buttons to make sure they get those things done. Chamber luncheons, things of that nature. Churches sometimes get involved. They have nice meeting halls that they could have candidates in, during the week to be able to ask questions of their, their parishioners and things of that nature. So there's a lot of things out there that I think we could touch base with to try to encourage and help educate the voters that are out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sooy?
Thank you, Joe. So what some of you may not know is our current administrator, Joe Sooy, is a former president and editor for the Courier Post and the Daily Journal, and that's a Fortune 500 company. So not only does he give us a wealth of experience in management and marketing, he also told me why we don't have newspaper coverage. Because our folks didn't buy the newspaper. And that's the bottom line. They don't want to subscribe to it online. They want it for free. And that's the world in which we live in due to social media. As far as what anybody else is doing, I think you're doing a great job. I was one of the first people to talk to you when you approached me. With the nonprofits, I'm going to disagree with Joe a little bit on this one, simply because the nonprofits get most of their funding through government. They're non-governmental organizations, but they get a significant amount of grants from cities, from the county, from the state, and quite frankly, if I'm worried about getting reelected, or somebody else is, they may wish to give those nonprofits more money so that they get things skewed in their favor, much the same as we just talked about the Hatch Act. What we, the candidates, can do is be honest. You see many posts on social media, and I don't care if they're negative or positive, if they're honest. Okay, you're going to get, people have records. They have to stand by their records. I don't think we should attack anybody personally, but with their political record, hey, that's their political record. So we have a duty to be honest. You guys have to want the information. Four Seasons, great turnout. Unfortunately, last week I couldn't get to the brewery. I was ill. I wish I would have been able to been there. It's something I did not want to miss. So we have the responsibility to be honest with the public. And believe me, when you're honest with the public, people tell you they want transparency and they want the truth. Well, you're going to get whacked on the head for it. But hey, I'll stand for it. I can do it. I have a thick skin. I can put up with it. Some can't. So other than social media, which is the only way really now for our small locality to get that information out, we don't really have any other way that would be unskewed. So it's important that the people doing it are also unskewed. They should let the candidates on their web pages. They shouldn't block certain candidates because they don't like what they're saying, but that's all done. and it's part of this game, and it doesn't serve the public very well. So I want to thank you for what you're doing.
All right, thank you guys for that. Gonna skip that question because we kind of already covered it. This next one is on behalf of the Oar House. High Street has seen an increase in drug sales and usage, with one house across from the Oar House in particular drawing constant activity. People coming and going at all hours, attempting break-ins, overdosing in alleys and gazebos, panhandling and fighting. The Oar House says that this has become the million-dollar question in Millville. How will you address the combined issues of drug use and homelessness in downtown? Mr. Sooy?
Okay, for the drug use and homelessness, first I'll talk about police recruitment. That is a problem. We gave out a great contract. They have a pretty good contract now. The problem is all those raises are going to get eaten up by increases in health benefits. That's a given. So we're currently shopping around to get a different health benefits plan. Second, while we can increase patrols and do what we can to deter this type of behavior, until we get people in Trenton, and I'm talking about the Attorney General, to crack down on criminals, you're going to have criminals. They're riding down High Street on motorcycles and four-wheelers because there's no consequence to it. You can't chase them. You're not going to arrest them. The cops get demoralized. What are they supposed to do? People are like, oh, the cops aren't doing anything. They're handcuffed. We have a state government that handcuffs our police department. We have a court system that handcuffs our municipal judge. You don't show up to court for whether it be a code violation or whatever, a misdemeanor, no bench warrants are issued anymore. The courts have not allowed that except under some extreme circumstances. Bail reform. We arrest you, we let you out. As many of you know, my house was, I had someone enter my house in the middle of the night. I held him at gunpoint till the police got there, and he was out of jail in 8 months. It's utterly ridiculous. So you want to change this stuff down here, you're going to have to change part of Trenton. And you're going to have the opportunity to do that in a few more weeks. Thank you.
Mr. McGinty?
Crime is rampant in the city. Sadly, I've pointed out some of the things the Oar House pointed out. I even have photos. I've flown a drone over the woods where people are burning wire, where people are doing drugs. Joe and I went down and cleaned up the 3rd Street along with McQuade and Sutter and some other people from the city who did a great job. The Parks Department came out, really lended a hand. We had a guy brought his own private tractor out there with a claw on it, and we cleaned up a lot of stuff. Drugs were out there, needles were out there. It had been watched by me and others for a long time, and I complained loud enough that finally, we went out there and pulled down a lot of the places out in the woods where they were hanging out, told them to move along. We had a recycling facility burned down. The drugs are ridiculous. And those are, when I said street people earlier, those are the people that I'm talking about. Those people, some of them, need help. Many of them don't want help. They just think it's, yeehaw. We have the ability to get the drugs. We're going to do the drugs, and we're going to do whatever we can to keep getting the drugs. If they're breaking into Sooy's house, or they're stealing stuff, or they're burning wire and taking it to the junkyard for that next fix, it's just something we can't keep putting up with. And yes, we have to, I'm glad he went first, because we need to get different people in Trenton that aren't going to have our streets look like a third world country. It's horrible. The police are demoralized. I report things, I talk to them, I call the number. I've go when the police go to places, and the first words out of their mouth is, I don't know what's going to happen with this. Chances are they're just going to be back on the street. You know, not to mention the guy that broke in Joe's house had a record a mile long. I'll get criticism for this, but I was out on the street when we had a kid gunned down at the corner of High and Oak. It was, people were having something going on in your former...
It was
Third Friday also. And it was horrible. There were bullets on the ground. People were held up from leaving because their vehicles either got hit with stray bullets or they were inside a caution tape. The cops are out there scrambling. We had Vineland down here. We had the sheriff's office down here. And it was a party atmosphere. There were probably 1,000 people behind the care center there, in the back lot, partying. It was ridiculous. And you know what? Those cops are out there. They're paying attention to what they're doing. Nobody's watching their back. But I was out there, and it was a fright show. And that kind of thing can't happen. And I'll say this, and I'm going to may get criticized, but I talked to the young man's father who got killed, and he feels the same way I do. The kid did some things that were wrong. He got in trouble. They slapped a ankle bracelet on him. He was back on the street within a week. 10 days later, he's dead. Had he been set in jail, maybe that wouldn't have happened. I mean, we have a justice system. We need to use it. And that's pretty much I got, not a lot more to say on that. Thank you.
Mr. Derella.
I will agree with Commissioner Sooy. The problem's above our heads in regards to some of the changes in the law and how things are being looked at and how things are being enforced. But the problem's still here. So what can we do at the local level to try to help control that situation? Homelessness and drug addict and everything, it's an epidemic across the country. I mentioned earlier my daughter lives in Charlottesville, Virginia, a very upscale, very affluent area. You walk down there, it's 7 o'clock in the morning or 7:30 in the morning in their beautiful downtown district. It goes about 20 blocks to go get a cup of coffee. There's a tent with about 50 or 60 homeless people in there creating problems. Police show up, shuffle them off. I don't know where they go, but they try to clean it up before the business day starts. And the same thing with their evening festivities that they have every night, especially during the summer months. It is a serious problem that we have to deal with. We can continue to lobby and work with our local legislators, Assembly and Senate, and maybe reach over to another district, maybe to D3 or whatever, to see if we can have our voices heard and see if we can get some support. If anybody followed Cape May County, that commissioner board has put together a committee that had looked for 1 year at the problems they have with homeless, drugs, and things of that nature. They have not released everything, what their plan's going to do, but they are putting a lot of money towards that, over $300,000 to try to put a plan together. Something we should, if we can get our hands on, try to look at once they make that full plan public. What we need to do in the interim is we need to make sure we back our police officers. Currently, we spend about 41.7% of our tax dollars on our public safety. Good number. Average for the city the size of Millville is about 45 on the low end, 55 on the high end. How can we take some more of our tax dollars to try to help support those police officers with the training they need, okay, to handle some of these difficult situations that they're faced with every single day? We have to find a way, again, to pull together some form of a committee, in my opinion and my team members' opinion, with people that can work with mental illness, that can do capital recovery program is a big thing with the county. There's resources there available. Our ministers and any of the nonprofit that want to try to get involved to see what we can do to solve this issue. We can relight things as much as we possibly can. There are grants out there. ACE has them. We can push forward and try to relight everything we can. Cameras, speaking to the city of Vineland and some of the camera areas that they have that are done with solar and others. There is money out there, talking to people that write grants, companies that do that. There are monies for us to do. We said earlier, I forget who, one of the candidates said, cameras do deter. I think it was Commissioner Sooy. Yes, they do. How can we encourage our businesses downtown to take advantage of some of the money that's been put in place, okay, with the facade grants to help light as well as camera those particular properties that are up and down our high street? But again, we've got to extend that in to blocks in both directions. We need to coordinate work with the state police, the prosecutor's office, the sheriff's department, not just our own law enforcement here in Millville, but how do we coordinate with Vineland and Bridgeton to see what kind of organized effort we can put in all three of those cities, sharing we all have the same problems. So again, there are thoughts out there, there are ways to work around that. It's going to be an ongoing problem. You don't snap your fingers and have it go away. It will be here. The harder we work, the better it will get, but it will always be an issue. And that was one of the things that were discussed when the Cape May did their study. So again, our thoughts are try to relight, try to make sure we can get some more money if we're financially stable to the police department, try to make sure they have the proper training, make sure we use all the resources that are available from a committee standpoint, using the county as well as the state, and see what we can do and hit the ground running if we're fortunate to get in office in January. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. The next one is on behalf of Kate Nardone. After the recent fires on South 4th and 5th Street, residents reported that none of the fire hydrants on the block were working. What went wrong? Who is responsible for maintaining hydrants? And what steps will you take to ensure this does not happen again, especially in our city's poorer neighborhoods? Go.
Well, let me. All right, so the idea that the fire hydrants weren't working is incorrect. There was water at the fire hydrants. There was a problem getting it out. As you know, there's a lawsuit going on that. So there's only so much I can say. But if I were in charge of public safety and the water department, I would have those guys working together. They would be out there together checking the fire hydrants. And there would be no excuses about how something works, how it doesn't work. And a lot of that problem would have never occurred. Unfortunately, it did. Unfortunately, statements were made that probably shouldn't have been made during the fire because they were kind of incorrect. So I don't, and it is the question, I get the question, but everybody's going to be kind of limited on what they can say. But I can say this, if the water department and the fire department had to work side by side checking those fire hydrants, then a lot of this would be avoided. And it wouldn't have one department blaming another. You know, in the military, if you had a problem between two units, you make them work together. And in the end, they develop a mutual respect, and they work together, and everybody's better off for it. Thank you.
Yes.
Again, I'm glad Joe Sooy went before me. I can't offer a lot of information or anything about the fire. I mean, I was in the area. It was a tragedy. I spoke to some people down in the area. One of the people were one of the neighbors. The rumor and conjecture that went around after the fire did everyone a disservice, and people died, and it's horrible. And to have people spreading false information, to have people struggling for answers is a terrible thing. The one thing that I come away from it as just what I might offer is there are some better ways of keeping track of whether or not things work and where things are and so forth and so on. And there were, somebody posted online, I guess they Oprah'd some reports, and they weren't standardized. They were kind of, not that great. There are resources out there. The GPS that actually the DEP manages. We could put all our fire hydrants on there. We could have a database that's part of a statewide program that we could say this was inspected on this date and have a spreadsheet of what was done, or the info, and it would be available, and it would be a lot easier to check, and you could go through and have a better idea of what the status is of fire hydrants and other equipment out there. If we can keep track of where every monitoring well gets plunked in to within a centimeter of where it's at, I don't think it would be too much of a stretch to figure out fire hydrants and other things within the city that could go on the geographic information system. Thank you.
Mr. Derella?
As someone stated here in the audience, very difficult question because of the litigation. So anything any one of us say could be misconstrued or pulled into some kind of lawsuit. What I will say is, if you had a team of people that were sitting at the dais and they all worked together, there would be better communication with all the departments. There should be a weekly meeting with all the department heads and at least one other person in that department that that individual wants to bring, so that information is being shared constantly throughout the city and through that group. So again, that's one way that you may be able to overcome some of these challenges or some of these issues that may slide under the table. I do know, being in office for 15 years, we did have an administrator who had a checklist, Mr. Thompson. And on that checklist, he had fire hydrants, all the different things that needed to be done in a yearly basis. And there was a rotating thing out of engineering to make sure each neighborhood was checked and done. Lines have to be flushed, coordinate with the fire department, and so on. So again, there were processes going back years ago, and things do fall by the wayside. But if you have 5 people working together, they will have disagreements, but at least they'll work those out in the stairwell or behind closed doors to make sure they come out with a resolution. Hopefully you can avoid something tragic as happened this past year. So again, hopefully we didn't say anything litigation that's going to help or hurt the city of Millville.
Yep. Thank you, gentlemen. I think we'll ask one more question and then take a break so that we can regroup. Okay, so Millville has many assets worth highlighting, from arts and cultural anchors like Wheaton Arts, Lavoie, the Riverfront Renaissance for the Arts, and the Village on High, to outdoor destinations like Mananico Ponds and Morris River Bluffs. Yet city advertising has been inconsistent. For example, the RRCA contract produced high-quality material last year, but funding was pulled, then reintroduced at a higher level through UEZ funds, and is still in limbo. So, even when contracts are approved, implementation can also get stuck in red tape. Do you believe the city government should be actively and consistently promoting Millville's assets to support existing businesses and nonprofits while attracting new visitors and investment? If so, how will you ensure that that happens? Mr. McGinty?
Yes. There's no two ways about it. We do have a lot of assets. We have dedicated people that are part of the Arts District and have been, like it's been mentioned, for 20 years. We have the RRCA. We have a lot of natural beauty around in the area that bringing new business in and bringing families in, bringing jobs in, people are going to want to go do something. We have a lot of things to do around here. Of course, we got to do a lot of cleanup before that happens. But I'm gonna pat myself on the back a little bit here. I'm a bird nerd. I take pictures of birds. I have like crazy lenses and stuff. And I noticed down at the dam we had ospreys that were fishing for the herring. And I was down there taking pictures, and I told a couple friends, and she was down there. She took some, and Mr. Wheaton, he was out there. Don't know his first name, but he was out taking photos of the ospreys, and there's an eagle around the corner. I didn't tell anybody about that, but I told a professional photographer about 2 years ago, hey, if you tell me where those owls are, I'll tell you where the ospreys are fishing for herring. Well, over the past 2 years, it's gone from maybe 4 or 5 people out there at most a day to as many as 100 out there. And I can tell you, I made a list of the license plates. There were at least 10,000 people out there taking pictures of ospreys, picking herring out of that area. We have a lot of areas like that. Now, you don't want to tell people, oh, there's an eagle's nest here, because they'll go and they'll love that thing to death. But we do have a lot of places to go and see things, and people can discover for themselves. We have different festivals. We have all sorts of activities that happen, but we need to straighten out the bigger problem of, and I'll just say, I hate this buzzword, optics. You know, optics is not a word in my vocabulary. We got to take care of eyesores. Let's call it what it is. And sadly, some of the people are eyesores, and they cause problems. And we need to have more security, and we need to have people out there that are going to handle it. Okay. The other thing I'll bang my drum on, I suggested that we get a golf cart that can carry 12 people like we used to have at Southwoods. Remember those, Mr. Davis? I volunteered to drive that thing for 4 years and patrol the lot, pick people up, bring them up, take them to the Levoy, take them to the sheds, I call them, to take them to the different art places and wherever they want to go for a small fee, just enough to keep kids from jumping on the thing and wanting to ride around all night. Okay? And I think it's a good idea. In the course of that, I could be watching a lot. And if there's somebody roaming around that doesn't look like they should be there, or hanging around cars that aren't theirs, or doing drugs here or there, or stuff much worse, all I got to do is make a phone call. Hey, can you get an officer out here and look at it? You know, maybe have docents or ambassadors like Philadelphia has, with nice little, Millville shirts and some holly on there and their name. We're out here, walking around the area. It could be volunteers. Every little bit helps. And I think you could get people to do that because people want our town to look a lot better. Thank you.
Mr. Derella is next.
What was the question?
I think the question, I was just trying to think that in my head too. I think the question is, what would we do to help promote some of the assets in the city of Millville?
Correct.
Which were named, okay? Obviously we're residents here, so we understand where all those assets are. Obviously we have a beautiful river, we've got a lake, we've got New Jersey Motorsports, we've got the Airport Museum, we've got Wheaton Village, we've got Arts, on High, we've got all these attractions. 2011, 12, and 13, there was a plan to try to link all those things together and try to market that appropriately. You want to make Millville not just a place to visit, you'd like to make it a destination where people could spend at least 2 days, which in then turns helps spur the economy. That plan needs to be revised, and we need to start to push our way forward in regards to that same thing. How do we link all those things together? How do we get the word out? We have local marketing, Mr. Horin here. How do we tie that into a bigger scale where we can continue to move and create a bigger space? We should be using some of the information that the Levoy Theater has. It's how they track who comes, who doesn't. How do we tap into that resource to be able to send information about our city? All the questions leading up to this were very good. First, we got to clean things up. We got to make sure it's safe. We got to make sure it's lit. And then we got to make sure we have all the proper things in place to really entertain and make sure people understand this is a full destination. And again, how do we link those all together? Is it a transit system to get people from place to place? Don't know. Needs to be looked at. One thing I do know is all 5 commissioners need to be rowing in the same direction, and we need to make sure that every organization that's trying to support the city of Millville and all the merchants are rowing in the same direction as well. And how do we tie that all together? That's going to be critical. So again, I think that was the question, and I think there's some of the thoughts that we need to move forward in getting that done. The other thing is we have to make sure we want to tie this into economic development. We need to have a land bank, and that's got to be located somewhere with the city, with the Improvement Authority, EDA, and BAC. All those organizations can help if we can keep our momentum going and we have ourselves as a destination. There'll be more opportunities for people who may want to come and invest and maybe take us to the next level. But it will take time, and it's going to take, again, everybody working together to move forward. Thank you.
And Mr. Sooy.
So you've outlined the problems pretty well. Organizations working together is a big one. We have organizations that don't communicate. It's like they're doing their own thing, they're in competition instead of working together. You have events scheduled the same days. So we know the problems. The solution is something Joe touched on, is economic development, particularly the larger economic development jobs. Retail, small jobs, great, small businesses are great, but we need those big jobs. And to that extent, this commission, in spite of its sometimes fighting, of course I miss Mayor Warnorth, because when she was there, we didn't have this infighting. Not Mayor Romanik's part, but when she left, the people of Millville decided to elect a couple people that don't think the same way that other people did. So let me get back to the economic development. We had marketed to a realty company a lot of our industrial park. We have 80% of that roughly 300 acres under contract or being developed now. One of those businesses was Livoni, which was started under previous commission but was dead. We resurrected that, now that's up and running. Agri-Terra was sitting on the shelf, nothing was moving. Thanks to Ray Comperi, and then further up, followed up by Joe Couchy, our administrator, our redevelopment attorneys, the team that we have in place. That project is now going again. Additionally, we just sold we're selling 25 Airwork Street, a property that's been vacant for decades. So the same guy that's opening Capone's on High Street, which is a new business on High Street, which should help everybody, bought that building. The big one, CRP, Community Realty Partners, an approximately $300 to $400 million project at the end of build out. It includes a hotel, warehousing, light industrial, and office space. All that's going to depend on Nabb Avenue. Eventually, we need that transportation route. So, you can look at a thing in our budget called our debt ratio. Now that ratio is very low. So we can do that project. It's nice if we have everybody else helping us, but for whatever reason, some have been slow to come to the table. Now, Congressman Van Drew had the funding in place for the federal government that got cut. Hopefully we'll get that reinstated. Hopefully the county will finally get off their backsides and move a little faster. Now some of the candidates have said that they will. So I hope they stick to that promise, but that's something we definitely have to look at. We need the jobs. When we lost Wheaton's and we lost Ball Foster and we lost General Machinery and we lost West Company and all the ancillary businesses that went with those jobs, that's when you saw the influx of what we have now. We need those jobs so that the housing is in demand, which is something else we have to worry about, right? So when you don't have demand for housing for jobs, you're going to get more Section 8. Now there are good Section 8 people and bad Section 8 people, but you know what? Look around. It's not the city commission throwing the trash all over the streets, right? Which you want us to make sure we got to have a way to get it clean. It's our own residents. So one thing old Mr. Ennis used to say is we have to change the culture of the concept. I'll just say we have to change the culture because I could never figure out what that other concept part was. But we have to change the culture of the people that live here, and the way we do that is with employment opportunities. And that's what I've been concentrating on more than anything. When a developer wants to come in, it's usually me that meets with them. The mayor would eventually meet with them. Engineering met with them. Water department met with them. Sewer department was there. Our planner was there. And our redevelopment attorney was usually available by telephone. Why? So they could get their questions answered. If they wanted to know how much capacity the sewer plant had and what our build-out plan was, we told them. If they wanted to know if they needed pre-treatment on the water or pre-treatment on the sewer, we told them. They didn't have to wait 6 weeks for an answer. Everybody's sitting there. And that's how we managed to get some of these bigger companies in. We also, I mean, I can talk about the Wheaton property. We're not demolishing it. That went through a mediation process, and I see you're giving me the time to shut up and sit down, so I will.
We just need to keep things moving on, that's all.
I understand.
So we'll take a quick break to regroup and refresh. Thanks.